here I am, out on the streets with my head in my hands. I've got no plans, only to see you again. Don't get me wrong, sometimes I like being kicked on the ground. I'm not that strong, but then I come to my senses. Yeah, I'm coming. You can feel my power, and I feel what is real when she feels me. And I feel what is real when she feels me. And I feel don't be afraid. Don't do that man with the scar on his face. It's a charade. It's just the way you've been living. Yeah! I'm coming. You can feel my power. And I feel what is real when she feels me. And I feel what is real when she feels me. Yeah. And I And I feel what is real when she feels me. And I feel what is real when she feels me. Yeah. And I feel. And I feel what is real when she feels me. And I feel what is real when she feels me, yeah. And I feel.
Hi everyone, Dan here, and I just wanted to put a little snippet about AstroWorld and what we do because I want to start getting the word out because I think it's becoming more and more of a giant community, and I want to get the word out to some other people. So what we do at AstroWorld is We hold astrophotography chats on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. and Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And we just talk astrophotography. Wednesday's more of a techie kind of advanced intermediate, and Fridays is more of a newbie kind of thing. So if you want to check us out, and if you want to, hang out with some people that like to go off the rails a little bit and have fun while they're doing it, come check us out at astroworldweb.com, and you can check out the schedule, and you can sign up for all the free giveaways that we do. We just gave away an Eagle 4 Pro, an Optical filter kit, Charles Brackenstein's books, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So come to astroweb.com, hang out with us, have a good time, and as always, remember to keep imaging, keep educating, and clear skies. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hey,
We're here again. It's another Wednesday. It's a lovely night.
Hump Day.
Hump Day. I just read the fourth book of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, and with all the camels, it just reminded me of Hump Day. So all right. Well, tonight is another Wednesday night, and as promised, I've been pummeling the schedule with guests, and tonight we are honored to have Bob Denny here again for his second visit to AstroWorld, and he's got his shirt on. Look at this guy. You're better dressed than Pete is. I mean, geez, come on.
Yes, you can. We got the merch going.
Got to get it going. Got to get going. I got the new shirt. I got the new shirt here the other day. So you got the AstroWorld telescope shirt. There you go. I got that going. Right. That's for Neef. So that's it has that awesome brand new Chinese smell to it. That's that you get with the clothes. I don't know where that smell comes from, and I don't know how it comes in. It's just dreadful. But
wow. Oh wow, I can't see Pete.
I can see him on YouTube, but I can't see him here.
I will change that right now. 33. There we go. And now you should be seeing.
There we go.
There you go. There we go.
All right. Well, YouTube includes the comments. Holy catfish! Yeah.
Oh yeah. We got about 20 people watching right now. So
oh yeah.
We usually get it'll grow in about an hour, and we get usually a bunch of people coming on the weekends. A lot of people are, our UK friends and our people that Tarek Tarek's actually there now from the UAE.
I saw him.
Yep, he watches. We got a bunch of people. We got Tom, Dave, Brian, Bob. Who else? I got Tom, Peter, Dennis, Hess, Norm Newman is here. I see Matt Draxler from Averted Vision Observatory up there. Larry Christensen. I don't think I got everybody. Dan Solo. I always call him Dank Solo, but it's Dan K Solo, and I keep on calling him Dank Solo.
Okay, guys, we got 23 watching. We got 23 watching, but only 9 thumbs up. Do us a favor, give us a thumbs up. Share the show, share to public, and you're on Facebook.
Like the video.
So let's do this.
Poke it right now. Let's see. Boom. Number 13 is going to be mine. There it is.
There you go.
Me.
There it is.
Must like the show, and listen. Don't also don't underestimate the comments at the bottom when you kind of put comments on, not the chat box, the comments in the show. Make some comments if you like it. Ask some questions in the comments, and
they're waking up.
Oh yeah. Oh wait. Well. Now we got Jackie here, so Jackie's going to liven up the show here a little bit, and I'm sure that Charity will come floating around, and then it'll get real interesting. So, but Bob, again, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. Pete really twists my arm, but he kind of twists my back. Okay, do it. I have reservations because I'm not an engineer, and plumbing and technology, and we're trying to do people not who for your profession or hobby. So it's always a little bit possibly awkward, but I try to do what I can.
It's just getting a little bit of latency here, I think.
Yeah, we got a little bit of latency
from. Let me see. Let me see if I can
from
fix
me.
that.
We have a really fast internet.
I'm sure you do. I have gigabit here too. So
yeah, it's a little bit of breakup.
Oh God. Okay, I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah,
we didn't have that before, right?
No, it comes in and out. Like usually you're okay now, and I hear everything, and I see you, and everything's good. All
right, I'm going to kill the YouTube on my iPad, which should give a little bit more time to.
I'm going to actually see if it's actually you or Mabe, and let me see something real quick. Let's see, as I don't have any kids, so nobody's streaming. So everybody's green right now. So it looks decent right now. So I'll keep an eye on it and see. Maybe I can move some bandwidth around a little bit. But I think we're good now.
Yeah. It's good to see you, Bob. It's good to see Pete back here, hanging out with us. It's kind of like the old times, So it's awesome. It's awesome. But yeah, appreciate everybody, joining us. Like we saying, give us a thumbs up, share the show. And one thing that don't forget, if you haven't yet, I don't know if it's closed yet. I'll have to double check. But we have our image of the month for January closing today. The polls are closing today. If you have not voted for image of the month, please go ahead and head over to AstroWorldWeb.com/IOTW and scroll down and take a look at the image of the month for January contest, and go ahead and vote if you have not. I think the poll is still open, and strangely enough, we won't be having an image of the week contest this week because we already have our winner. So congratulations, Jason, because he was the only entry this week that I found in the folder. So by default, he's the winner of the.
I see this. What the hell? This has never happened to me.
I see that.
I have to. I don't know what the hell is going on. This is very embarrassing. I have commercial internet.
Does that say 0.02?
Your upload, your stream
was nothing. It should be 30. Yeah, I don't know what the hell.
I mean, it's
so you guys go ahead and do your thing. I'll try to figure out why, because this is a big system of mine. If I have to, I don't understand.
Well, right now now you just froze up again.
So. On 5G.
So yeah, I'm not sure.
That's really making me mad. All right, do
you want to reboot your router?
It should not happen. You guys keep going. I'm going to try to solve this problem, and I don't know what the hell the problem is.
Would you like to reboot your router?
Commercial service here, and I don't know why. Let me check out in the other room, and nothing's going on. I'll be doing this.
No problem.
Just a second.
You got it.
Problem.
All right. Well, technology happens, and it does happen, and
absolutely, it certainly does. So
I got a question, since we're gonna throw some stuff up for discussion. So I got questions. I got questions with this. People know what this is, right? You know what this is?
Spider. Yeah, the spider.
Yes, the spider.
Your monitor. Yeah, your monitor.
And what is blocking? What is in my? Is that this? Oh, my light is in the way. Get out of here. All right. So I'm trying to get a picture made, printed. And I've been using Bay Photo, and I've been doing some talking with our member Jason. Everybody remembers Jason James. And I was talking with him a little bit, because we've been, if you notice, there's no echo in the show anymore, because we did some updating and stuff like that, and figured some things out together yesterday. So hopefully everything is good. But the issue is that I get a picture and it's a lot darker, and I don't want to show the picture because it's a surprise. But I don't. It's noticeably darker on print than it is on visual. And so I figured, all right, well, maybe I need to calibrate my monitor. Okay, and I do that. Boom. Calibrate my monitor, do the thing, everything is fine. And I got some instructions from Bay Photo on how to change they give you an evaluation print to match to your monitor. Unfortunately, if I do that, my monitor brightness is 0 to match the photo. It's a 0. And it's just really, really bad, because it says if the monitor is too, if the picture is too dark, that means your monitor is too bright. And so turn down them and add that into your calibration settings and blah, 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 whatever. That's not working out for me. So I went to another company called, I forgot the other company's name, to be honest with you. And I said, listen, can you send me your profile that you use to print?
Okay.
Your printing profile. No, we don't do that. Don't worry, we'll adjust your picture to fit whatever it looks like on the screen. And for those of you, oh, look at that, Bob may be there.
I think I found the problem. Out in the front, our Wi-Fi was being swamped by a 4K video that was playing on our TV, and my wife was playing a 4K video on her iPad, both on Wi-Fi, and that was doing it. So, all right. So sorry for all that.
No, that's okay. That does happen. You know what I mean?
That happens.
Yeah. Let me get this back.
That's one I will admit, because I know everybody's internet is different, different internet service providers. But I will say this: I am very happy that I have fiber now. I've switched from, cable internet to fiber, because it's the same speed either way, up or down. So I will say that's pretty great.
No, I'm stuck. I can't get myself back. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
This is
there you are. You are back.
Right. Now I am good.
I think you're good.
Thank you for your patience.
No, I'm just gonna monitor your incoming. And it looks decent. You're going back between I don't know, 27 to 34. It's a little,
which that's our normal speed. 30 is what we pay for. So
yeah. All right.
That should be good enough.
Yeah, you're still coming in. You went totally in the red again. You might want to try and since you got it fixed, you might want to try and log out and log back in. Yeah, because it really came back.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
This
never had this problem. This is a first.
Everyone can blame it on me. That's okay. It's fine. I think he logged out. So let's give that a shot and see if that
just
happens.
Give it a second.
Yep.
Oh, good. So but I know Alpaca has been that Bob's been doing quite a bit of work, on Alpaca and Alpaca 2.0. So it'd be cool to see.
Well, I'm really sorry, everybody, if this doesn't work for you. I have no idea why not. you saw my speed,
Yep.
and I don't know what's going on.
Well, let's see.
Anyway.
You look decent now, so I mean, let's see what we got.
Let's just press on and see what we get.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're bouncing around 30 frames per second with about a 500
that would be our
milliseconds.
normal speed here.
What's that?
That would be our normal speed, 30-ish.
Yeah, it looks like your resolution drops too a little bit. It goes from 1280 to 960. Something weird is going on. But let's see.
I've been on so many video calls and Zoom calls, and I've never had.
And you've been on this show. We haven't changed anything either. So I mean,
I haven't either. It's the same service here.
Everyone's saying it looks good on their end.
Yep. People can put up with it. That's fine. I'll get the message across. That's what is important.
Absolutely. So
what I'm doing anyway. So,
well, while we're here, and for those of you that we do have some new members that have joined us since the last time you came on the show, I guess about a year and a half ago, and we were able to catch up at NEAF last year. And
yes, I'll be there again this year.
Oh yeah, yep, me too. And Eric will be there. Hopefully, we could swing Pete down there, and get him in here too. We're taking donations for Pete's flight. So if anybody wants to make a donation for Pete's flight,
right.
Feel free to hit us up at AstroWorld TV or throw it in the chat. Just kidding. Pete might not be able to make it, but we're hoping that he does. But why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Bob? Because we, like I said, we do have some new people, and maybe they don't know what ASCOM and you are all about. So why don't you take it away?
Thank you, sir. Anyway, they invited me on here to help explain the plumbing behind astronomy connections between apps and devices. So I'm Bob Denny. I've been in astronomy for astronomy engineering, I'll say, for 25 years. I started in 1999, so 2024 makes 25 years for me. And that's all I've done is software development and engineering for astronomy. And I have my own line of products. I'll say briefly that without advertising them, I still have the only declarative automation. That is, you don't tell it what to do when, you just tell it what you want, and it figures out how to do it, all of it. It's not sequential, it's declarative. And the other half of it is I have a scheduler that figures out when to observe things based on your constraints and not the time. So you don't tell it what time you want to observe, and you don't tell it all the steps you want to observe. You just tell it what you want, how many images, what filters, how long, and all that, and you put it in a web interface, and it does it, and you get your images delivered to you. So there's nothing like that out there. That's what I've been doing for the last 25 years. Behind the scenes, well, sort of, I have also made a mission to keep the software infrastructure out there open for everybody. And by doing that, what I've done to make that happen, and that started in 2001, is to create a set of commands and responses and behaviors that will work for all of the devices and programs out there. So the best way I can explain it is, imagine if you were going to have a word processing program and you were going to write that, and then now there's 1,000 printers out there and every one of them is different. So what do I have to do? Put software in my word processing program for all of these different printers. One of them speaks #654. The other one goes escape 55. And then at the other side, there's all these printers and programs. What if somebody else with a program would have to put all that code into their software? So now you have a bunch of word processing programs and a bunch of printers. Every program has to know about every printer. Maybe you can see how that's just totally unworkable.
Yeah.
So for the last 40 years, and I mean 40 years, computing has worked by defining a standard set of nouns and verbs that are used between programs and devices, between word processors and printers, between astronomy apps and telescopes, astronomy apps and focusers. So these astronomy apps just speak the standard language, and the focusers respond to the nouns and verbs in that standard language. And now we have, that's what a driver does. It talks to the focuser and sends #554 blah 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 to the focuser, and the program goes, position the focuser at this count, and whatever goes on inside the focuser is unimportant to the program. The next focuser does things differently. The program still says, move the focuser here. The focuser does it, and then it reports back, yeah, I did it. Or when they ask the focuser to do that, the focuser will go, no, I can't do that because blah, and it gives you an answer. You can't give me a negative number or something like that. So that language, that common language between programs and devices is what ASCOM is. That's the whole thing. And I started that in 2001, and I've spent an enormous amount of time, energy. That's really one of my main missions. And I actually got a nice award from the AIC, a Hubble Award a year and a half ago for having done that. And I had my coworkers in the ASCOM group, I had them there on stage with me, all of us, to accept the award, because it's really just not me. It was all of us, the three of us, Peter Simpson, Daniel Van Noord, and myself, who's been carrying the ball on this for the last 10 years. So that's what I'm doing behind the scenes of my business, which is DC3 Dreams and ACP Expert. So,
well,
yeah.
What I'm
congratulations on the Hubble Award to you and your team.
I should have had it, and I should hold it up here, but oh, shelf. Anyway, that's made a big difference, because throughout computing, and I've been a software guy for 40 years, literally. Throughout computing, there's people who've tried to take over and be the one solution for all. And that's it. It's not a very good business, because you're baiting everyone else out and trying to put your arms around the whole. There was a company back then who was trapped, and I made I made some enemies by putting ASCOM in the early days. It's pretty much of an adventure. It's all old history now. That company has ASCOM. Pretty much everybody's used it. But ASCOM itself depended, because most of the software that's out there, well, certainly most of the software 10 years ago that was out there was on Windows. And that's just because it was the most popular platform out there. Well, right. Now there's more software on Linux, some more in programs, and more technology. And so ASCOM depended upon a service inside Windows for being able to talk through the operating system between a program and a device. So the device could register itself with Windows with that standard language I talked about, the nouns and verbs. It would tell Windows, this is what I am and what I speak. And then the app would go look and say, oh, okay, this is a, astrophysics mount or a 10 micron mount or whatever. Click, and then I know that I can speak that language to that mount. And that communication between the program and the mount control, the driver, takes place through Windows. Well, it's Windows. That's it. So what about Linux? And what about Mac OS? Back in 2018, Peter Simpson came up with a system for remoting an app and a device. So you could have a focuser with its driver on one Windows system and a program if it was wanted to speak to that focuser or mount, I'll use mount as a better example, on a different system, and it communicated over a network connection. Well, that's it. That's what we were looking for, because whether the network connection's on the same machine or whether it's on different machines, doesn't matter. It's a network connection. You can speak TCP/IP between two programs, or a program and a device on the same system or another one. Well, now the system doesn't have to be Windows, right? All these systems speak TCP/IP. So we started to formalize that. We all got together and we set up a common set of low-level protocols. It's the same language. That's the key. The same nouns and the same verbs, whether you're on Alpaca, which is the new one, or on ASCOM, which is the classic one. No changes in the actual nouns and verbs, what we call the functions, or I'm sorry, the methods and properties. And I'll get into a little more about that. But the point being that you can make it seamless to move from one to the other. So we worked on that. In about 2020, we broke it open and let people know about it. And just like the original ASCOM, which I put out there in 2001, it took about 5 years for people to see it and get it. And from 2019, 5 years, here we are in 2024, and we have now it's starting to really pick up steam.
Yeah, I mean,
what I mean by that,
we saw a bunch of stuff as far as a NEAF last year. Pegasus Astro #1 getting on board, Dark Dragons getting on board. Those are the two that come right off on the top of my head. But I mean, I'm sure there's plenty more. I think Ioptron, is starting to come on board. I think
there's quite a few actually now. In fact, what I'm going to do is show you our public outreach website. Did I just lose you?
Nope, you're here.
Somehow I just I see I had another tab that I logged off of. Okay, here we are. Let me move this over so I don't get myself lost. Okay, so now I'm going to share a screen and show you a website. This website is ascom-alpaca.org.
Okay.
And I think there's a chat box that I can put. Oh, no. Well, I don't know.
I could do it. What is it? ASCOM?
ascom-alpaca.org.
.org, and it's in the chat. There you go.
.org, right. So I'm going to share this tab with you now.
Yep.
How's my network holding up?
Mostly pretty good. I think we're okay.
That's good. Okay, so you can see this, right?
Yep.
This is ascom-alpaca.org, and this is our public outreach site, which is for non-technical people. The idea is we made a superhighway for communicating between apps and devices without the potholes. And the potholes, you're going to laugh, are USB. Everybody knows that USB is a big problem. It's probably the #1 source of pain in astronomy. How many go on cloudy nights and do over the last year and search, and you'll find countless discussions where people, oh, you need to change this setting or do this or add this new thing or update the software, or a Windows update ruined it, or something like that. And at the end of the big discussion with 20 or 30 posts, it says, I changed my USB cable and the problem's gone. Or I got a new USB hub and the problem is gone. So this is the #1 source of pain in astronomy, period. The next one is ASCOM drivers. I'm sure you've all wrestled with ASCOM drivers. And the reason mostly is some of these drivers are written by people who are not part of the product. So you have a driver for a Meade mount, and there have been probably 20 drivers written for Meade mounts, none of which were written by Meade, and none of which were written by people who knew anything about what goes on inside a Meade mount. And they all have quirks and weird things and, oh, I can't do this, And so you have third-party people writing drivers without really knowing what's going on in the device they're supposed to present that standard language for. And mostly now the like astrophysics and people like the 10 micron, they do a good job. That's not an issue with the drivers. The cameras, on the other hand, some of the drivers are a little bit unstable, and I'm sure you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, the drivers are another problem. So what I was talking about is, how do you get from today's ASCOM, a program like Nina, SGP, my ACP, which speaks today's ASCOM using the Windows communications, right? How do I speak to an Alpaca device? Well, thanks to Peter Simpson's brainiac activities, the chooser now, can you all see this?
Yep.
Where my mouse is? The chooser now will search for and show you Alpaca devices anywhere on your local network. I'll show this later. And it then tells you can select that. What it says here is Alpaca Telescope Simulator. And now Nina and SGP don't know they're talking to Alpaca. It's totally transparent. And the reason it can do that is that between Alpaca and ASCOM, it's the same nouns and verbs exactly. And so they just need to be translated from COM on Windows to internet, boom, and they're Nina, SGP, none of them, they don't even know they're talking to an Alpaca device. That's the on-ramp. That's one of them. And the other side of the coin is that a device that is an ASCOM, classic ASCOM device, by virtue of another one of Peter Simpson's brainiac programs, by starting ASCOM Remote broadcasts that COM device over Alpaca. So any program that speaks Alpaca, including programs that speak COM and then can turn around and speak Alpaca, can talk to that device. The point being that an Alpaca device can be used by a classic Windows-based software program or any other program because it's internet. And a Windows software program can speak to any Alpaca device because, again, it's over the internet. Doesn't have to be on Windows, doesn't have to have a driver. So the idea eventually is to make things like mounts and focusers self-contained. You don't need a driver, no USB. This thing, the whole thing is in a box, and it broadcasts its Alpaca self, and then old software, classic software, current software can speak to it. I will tell you, one of the very popular Windows-based software programs is about to come out with native Alpaca, not COM. It's going to be able to connect directly to Alpaca devices. I can't tell you what that is yet.
Yep.
I just found that out a week ago, but it's coming.
It's nice to see that this is actually, I remember the first time you were on the show. I mean, there was like we were talking about mount people jumping on board, and we were talking about other camera people jumping on board and all that kind of stuff. And now it seems like everyone's jumping the plank, going into the Alpaca pool now. So it's kind of cool to see.
Just takes time.
Yep.
I've had so many people tell you this thing is garbage because nobody's doing it. What do you want? It took 5 years last time. It takes, so many things like this. An infrastructure thing takes years to take because businesses have to put money into it. And they have to risk their market, right? They have to say, well, is this going to mess up my sales? So anyway, so the next part of this, I'm going to go over to the showcase, which you can get to this the same place, alpaca.org. So let's take a look at where the state of it is now. This EZT I'm not even sure what is that. Oh, it's a focuser.
Yeah, it's a focuser.
There are things, they just sent that to me, and it doesn't actually say focuser on it, which is pretty weird. But anyway, self-contained driverless Wi-Fi. You don't need a USB cable. You don't need anything. You just give it power, and your program can find this focuser with the chooser on Windows, or if it's native, like this program I'm talking about will soon be, it will speak directly to this with no cables and nothing. So I have Bluetooth, and it even has Bluetooth, which is cool. Here's the Boltwood cloud sensor. Probably everybody's heard of that.
Yep.
Well, that's been Wi-Fi Alpaca for 2 years. Pegasus. This rotator is self-contained, driverless, both Ethernet and Wi-Fi. You don't need USB, no driver. Dark Dragons, you mentioned them. That controller, that's self-contained again, driverless, Ethernet. Sky Safari, I'm going to come back to Sky Safari in a minute and give you a little demo of it on my iPad well, I'll show you in a minute. Anyway, this speaks Alpaca and can talk to any mount that speaks Alpaca, or any mount that is on Windows, like an Astrophysics, that uses ASCOM remote to broadcast an Alpaca presence for itself. So you have all this flexibility. The story of Observatorio Elsass is that they called me and they were wrestling with weather. They didn't know how to deliver weather to different programs. They were having a lot of problems. So there is an ASCOM interface called Observing Conditions and Safety Monitor. So I told the guy there, here is a software development kit that you can use to develop an ASCOM driver in Python. If you put your weather and your safety, your roof status in Alpaca/ASCOM Observing Conditions and Safety Monitor, all of the software out there on Windows can immediately use it. And I gave him a set of Python modules, which is one of the things I personally have been working on. And he wrote me back 2 days later and said, "Oh my God, this is so easy. You made it super easy. The documentation's great. It's working. We're feeding weather to all of our people on Windows now with this."
Wow.
That was pretty cool. So that's 120 telescopes. I don't know how many of them are running Windows software, but I know a lot of them are. Nina, SGP, I know some ACP people. There's a lot of Windows. There are also some Linux-based things. And I think, well, anyway, I'll get back to that. Maybe we'll see how much I have. So this Carte du Ciel was one of the first applications that can speak native Alpaca. It doesn't have to go through the chooser and the Windows to Alpaca conversion. It has Alpaca built in. Another Pegasus device that is self-contained, driverless, Ethernet, and Wi-Fi. You can get that now. The Dragon Light is the coolest thing. They made a flat panel out of an iPad, and it speaks Alpaca. The cover calibrator, that's another one of those languages, an interface we call it, and it speaks to a light panel that has that Alpaca/ASCOM interface. And so from a program like Nina, you can turn that thing on and vary the brightness to take flats. And you can use the iPad as a flat source. And what amazed me is they told me that the screen on these new iPads is a wonderful source of light for flats, including having light for short and long wave, blues and reds. It's a very good source for that. So that's a cool thing. But again, Alpaca, no wires, in other words, no dongles, none of that stuff. Here's another box, Pegasus's Ultimate Power Box, self-contained, driverless, Ethernet. And I just showed you that if you click on these pictures, you go straight to their website. Anyway, another one. And here's another one, Hallow Northern Sky. That's Han Klein's really cool planetarium, it's native alpaca. It doesn't have to go through COM, doesn't have to go through any of the adapters. Focus links, all of the software at Optech right now. Daniel Van Noort is their software engineer, and he's one of the guys on the ASCOM core team, and he's done the Omni simulator, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes, and all of their other stuff. And so they're totally on alpaca. CCD Seal, this is some Patrick Chevalier, another native, and he will speak alpaca to cameras. Alpaca Pi is a very interesting project by a guy named Mark Sproul. He has an entire set of device drivers and applications on Linux that speak alpaca, and it is an amazing number of modules and programs and things that I don't even know how he did it. Another Dragon Light control lights. Guy who did HN Sky has done Sky Simulator. It looks like an alpaca camera. So you plug it into that thing and it will generate star fields that you can plate solve, all sorts of stuff. And this is the Python, what do you call it, a module or a library that you can import into Python and will let you speak. You can call all those same nouns and verbs right from Python, the properties and the methods, without having to do any, boilerplate network stuff, nothing. You just write it. Let me
ask you a question here, Bob, if you don't mind. So I
don't mind.
So basically these alpaca speaking over TCP/IP, is speaking over that protocol. And you're talking also about how USB is a lot of us can agree it's been pretty much a bane, for a lot of what we do. So now is the goal going to be, because I hardwire my computer, my Nina computer. It's hardwired to my, so I don't use Wi-Fi.
It could be Ethernet too. I mean, that just depends on the device.
It just depends.
Some of them have Ethernet on them also.
Okay. So is that where you see a lot of things going or would you foresee, a lot of manufacturers going more no USB, more Wi-Fi, and maybe Ethernet connectivity?
Both. I can go back through that present, the slideshow, but at least half of them also have Ethernet, and they know that that's also going to be important. I mean, you have a choice of Ethernet or Wi-Fi, and the protocol they don't care what the hell it goes over. That's spaghetti or fettuccine. It's no big deal.
Right. But the main goal, the main plan with alpaca is that elimination of USB and relying on TCP/IP via wireless or Ethernet to be the way everything is going to be communicating with each other.
In the long run. But if you have a device now, let's say a mount that was designed with firmware that speaks gobbledygook serial stuff, right? You know what I mean? All of them, a lot of them do. They, # 54, # ABC 1 2 3. That means slew. Okay, so the apps out there don't want to know about that. They want to see the word slew and an RA and a DEC. So what converts that call into the BS that the mount needs is a driver. And we all know, hopefully, for 40 years, computing has relied on drivers to present a standard interface to programs and then take care of the differences between devices. That's what a driver does. And that fundamentally, architecturally in computing, it's an absolutely essential part of computing architecture. So you can today write an Alpaca driver as opposed to a Windows ASCOM driver. So you now, with an Alpaca driver, you can talk ABC 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 and convert your old mount that didn't know anything about Alpaca into an Alpaca speaking mount. And Alpaca drivers are easier by quite a bit to write than the old Windows ASCOM drivers. Those things, the technology was pretty tough. It took a fairly high level of programming skill to be able to write a Windows ASCOM driver. But to write an Alpaca driver, the technology is much more widely used across different platforms. It's, you can do it right. You can write an ASCOM driver, an Alpaca driver in Python. And there's a software development kit out there right now that supports just exactly that. And I'll give you a quick look at that website. What is the name?
So we're basically Alpaca in a nutshell. We hopefully we are going to start seeing more and more, and we're already starting to see that more and more OEMs utilizing Alpaca when they're designing their devices and building their devices. So then everything.
This is what Pegasus is already doing. You've seen, when you saw the slideshow, you saw a bunch of their devices. They're all Alpaca. You don't need to use USB. So this kit, this software development kit right here for drivers, has some really good documentation. It gives you a quick start on how to make a driver. I'm not going to drag you through all this detail, but then there's a whole introduction on Alpaca drivers in general, and then a roadmap on how to make a driver, what to put in there. Anyway, that gives you we've tried to provide the tools that you need to to build the drivers, and there have been probably a dozen or so people who've done that. They're not commercial. They've done it just for their own devices and uses. So that's the driver side.
That's pretty cool. And that's pretty cool.
So I've had a number of questions regarding Alpaca.
Oh,
since,
all right.
We have a Discord.
Happy to answer questions.
Well, we have a Discord channel that we have just about 160 people on now at this point. And
excellent.
And since they heard that you were coming on, they've been asking me questions on Alpaca. And the biggest one was this: I am going to a star party with no internet. Can I use Alpaca?
If you have an Ethernet hub or you have a Wi-Fi hub, yes. You don't need to be hooked to the public internet at all. And I should have had that little pocket Wi-Fi router thing.
Yeah, I got a little thing. Yep.
Yeah, that's all you need for all of your devices.
So as long as I don't, even if I don't have an internet source around, I could use Alpaca. So
absolutely. This is a big key, though. I want to make a point out of this.
Okay.
We had a lot of people grinding on us. Oh, you need to do this, that. You need to use MQTT and all this other stuff. Like, negative. We don't want to depend on anything. No brokers, no third party, no cloud brokers, none of that stuff. The IoT, that all needs an internet connection of some kind, or you have to run your own broker. And that's another point of failure and complexity and things that people don't need to deal with. So we made it simple. You can run it from the device to your iPad or your PC, portable PC or whatever, but you do need to have a way to make a Wi-Fi Local area network. Just that's it, right
there. You go.
That's the
this. If you see
right.
this, the little Mount Red.
That's the one right there. GLINet. I take those things. I have one that I take to shows with me, and it's not. That's just a Ethernet one. I have one that has antennas on it.
Yep.
That's
I have one with it's got two little antennas in it, but it's got 4 ports in the back.
And they're not very expensive. They're like $40 or something. No, you do not need to be connected to the internet. In fact, this is the important part. Alpaca is not designed to run over the public internet, period. And the reason is, imagine going to a college and saying, well, you can use Alpaca in your observatory. The first thing those security weenies are going to say, well, what about security? What happens if the Chinese try to take over my telescope? Blah, 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 blah. Well, put it, ear gap it if you want. Put it on its own local network or put it in a VLAN or but do not put this thing out on the public internet. That's not what it was designed for by design. That's it. And so there's that.
So the follow-up question to that was, I got a ton of questions that I've written down over here. So
this is good. I'm good with questions. I love them.
So the follow-up question to that is, so I'll read right here. So it says Alpaca doesn't need an internet connection. So where does it get how does it connect? How does it connect to all the devices? You know what I mean? There's no drivers. There's no anything. How does it know to move the focuser to step 5400 if it's just going over a Cat 5 cable?
But inside of the PC or the machine that you're using to run your SGP or Linux program on, right?
Right.
Inside of there is TCP/IP, right?
Correct.
Just that you get that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, inside of the Pegasus focuser is a processor with another set of TCP/IP protocol on it. So it knows that. That's all you need. Yep. You need TCP/IP at each end. The devices have their own web server and their own TCP/IP. Believe it or not, that device has a little baby web server in it, and it answers the calls with the proper protocol. And only in about 2018 did the technology reach that point where it was practical to put that. Back then, you could put it on a Raspberry Pi, drop dead easy. Well, now I've had people tell me they've shoehorned that into Arduinos, which I think is unbelievable. But the Arduino has has Ethernet and Wi-Fi, so it has TCP/IP. So you don't need anything else except, in the case of Ethernet, you need to be able to plug those Ethernet cables into a switch, right?
Right.
Or for Wi-Fi, you need to have the thing with the antennas that broadcast the Wi-Fi so they can talk back and forth. It's like that.
You need a router because the router will give you, because the routers normally also have DHCP servers because you need TCP/IP, so you need an IP address. Yes, each device will end up with its own IP address.
You got in the case of Alpaca, if you're using DHCP, that's okay because there's a discovery protocol, and when you go to select like your telescope, it will actually search your local net, and where your telescope web server happens to end up on DHCP, it'll answer with that IP address. Boom, you can do it. Now, where you run into trouble is if you keep power down, power up, power down, and you've saved your settings with the old IP address, and the next time it comes up and gets a different DHCP address, now you've got to discover again. So it's better to put your devices on a fixed IP address within your LAN, 192.168.0.57. That's my focus. Okay, leave it there.
Right.
You know what I mean, right?
Yep.
And if people haven't had that kind of experience with working on even the simplest internet stuff, then I'll answer more questions. But there's a point beyond which, as I told you guys before the show, that I can't get there. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean,
here's a
at a certain
question
level.
Here's a good question. Frank wants to know, because this is using TCP/IP, which is layer 3. Can you use MAC address reservations to create permanent IP address assignment? Because MAC is like
you
layer
can.
2.
But that is on the device. You go on the device, whatever it is, and you tell it what IP address you want it to be on.
Oh yes.
Alpaca has nothing to do with MAC addresses. That's way down in the weeds. Yeah, you just tell this, I want my focuser to be on 192.168.10. Okay, and you write that on a piece of paper and you go, okay, that's where it is when you go out to the field. And if you do all that back at home and you get everything talking to each other, you can go out in the field, turn everything on, and it'll be right there.
Yeah, exactly.
You won't have any surprises from jumping from one IP address to the next, if that makes sense.
Right. Yep.
I'm super excited to try this with my Pegasus because I got a Nix sitting over here. So I have a Nix 101 mount.
All right, you got to get a hold of those guys because they have some surprises up their sleeve.
Ooh. Okay.
So
I will talk to Angelos personally.
I got myself in trouble by even bringing that up. Just talk to him.
I'll just say, hey, Angelos, I'm getting ready to use my mount with Alpaca. What you got for me?
Yeah. And they may, I don't know what to tell you. So
moving on.
So
it was maybe a big mistake. I hope they don't. I'm going to see him at NEAIC. I hope he doesn't kick me in the butt.
He won't.
Yeah. So
he's a nice guy.
So if you're traveling and you have you have a router or like a Wi-Fi router like this, you can set up, if you're traveling, you can set this up with its own list of IP address reservations that are DHCP.
That's the way to do it.
And based off of the MAC and everything for this. And then when you're at home, if you have a VLAN or if you're setting up a VLAN or another type of network, you can do the same exact thing. So no matter what, if you're traveling, it's going to get that same IP address that you've already set up. Or when you're home, it'll have that IP address that you've set up on your home network. So
So the machine you're traveling with or at your house, that no matter where you are, your focuser's on this IP address, your telescope or your mount is on this IP address, and that's that. It's not that. It's not that.
Just so you know, this is one of the ones that I use here. This is the larger GLI net one with the little antennas, and you got 3 Ethernet ports in the back.
Just next room.
But yeah, these are decent. These are about $120. But it's
a little
Wi-Fi 6.
Nice case, a little not velour, but a zip open case.
And,
yeah,
and that works really nice. And so if you're out in like Nebraska Star Party that I was at last summer, where there's nothing, not even water if you can find it, but there's no internet around, this thing is a lifesaver. So let me ask you a question. So now if I have Wi-Fi enabled focuser, rotator, right? No, I'm sorry, not Wi-Fi, Ethernet only, Ethernet cables.
Yeah.
So I'm going to need to take that Ethernet cable and plug at least one in for let's say my Eagle, right?
It has an Ethernet switch in it, right? It has multiple Ethernet control.
Well, this GLI net has 3 ports. Okay,
so
Eagle
now you've
has
got at
1.
least 3. And you don't want to use the WAN port on the GLI net. That's useless in this scenario.
Yeah, so this only has 2, I think.
There.
Yeah, there's a WAN and 2 LANs. Yeah.
Another browser and then try to. Bring up Ethernet switch. Here's one. All right, so this is a $60 thing with 16 ports in it.
Oh my goodness!
And this is what you need for. Let's see what we can do here. Window. Where is that?
It's
this
on the
thing.
bottom. It should
Share.
say toggle. Yeah, there you go.
Got it. So look at this. $59. And it's got 16 ports, and you can put 16 devices on this, and there you are.
Yep. There you go.
Now, what would you
So,
suggest for
all you need.
something a little bit more portable than that? Not a lot of people are going to carry
Well,
around
all
a
right.
big switch.
Let's see.
Because I'm thinking now I'm thinking so Ethan, there you
How
go.
about something like this? It's just,
Something like that.
I mean, it has to be big enough for that number of
Devices.
sockets
Device,
there, right? So
whatever your
it's going to be that big. This is how big? I don't know.
That's
What's
gonna be-
this?
Oh no,
Like
those
for-
are it's like a little bit bigger than a credit card. Those aren't that big.
Yeah, it's not that big. So there you have it. These things are a dime a dozen. I mean, there's nothing. This is much more reliable, by the way, than Ethernet hubs. This is a much more reliable
Yeah, the switches.
technology
Absolutely.
than Ethernet.
Switches are
I mean, than USB. So we're not trying to compare this with the Ethernet. I'm sorry, the USB hub that you get from Office Max. There ain't no comparison. So, anyway, where's that magic? Okay, there we go. I gotta learn where the stop sharing thing is, and then push this.
There you go.
There you
and
go.
I'm back. Okay,
You're back.
I got it. man.
You got it.
I got it. So more
So, yeah,
questions,
Tom-
or I have another thing to show?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Tom was
Yeah, go ahead.
asking, do you have to use all fixed IP addresses, or can you do dynamic IP? And I was kind of
You
telling
can use dynamic IP. We were talking about that before. You can use a dynamic IP. The problem is once those IPs are assigned and your application, say SGP or Nina or ACP, goes out and discovers that your mount is on 192.168.1.5, and you save that as your connection and you tell it, okay, this is how you connect. Well, then you reboot or you go back and shut everything down and it comes on the next day and the router gives you a different IP address. It's inconvenient because you're going to have to go out and look for this thing again.
Yep.
It's a button push and then you do it again and there it is. It's not that tough, but it's more convenient. It's not a showstopper, but it's more convenient if you have everything on a fixed IP. And all of these devices that you see, the Pegasus ones, the Dark Dragons, they will tell you, put these things on a fixed IP address to save yourself the headache of having to rediscover them every time they're restarted. And the router gives them a new IP address.
And not for nothing. When and if you decide to go to full alpaca, right? And as a user, as an end user. So let's talk about one thing first. Cameras. So a lot of cameras out there aren't wireless. I don't know of many that have Ethernet outs. So I think we're kind of stuck with USB for that for now. Everything else can be alpaca. Is that the correct understanding?
Well, it's correct, except that everything runs on USB now.
Right.
And it's the manufacturer's decision when they want to make the switch.
Right.
Yeah. And one of the benefits,
cameras to lag behind because they're more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
They're dirt cheap. They've put the absolute bare minimum of logic in those things.
Yep.
And so they're going to have it's going to be tough for them to hear the customers say, I don't want this USB anymore, because they put a lot of money, probably had custom silicon made for that. You know what I mean? By having had an entire custom silicon chip for that with USB, not Ethernet, not Wi-Fi. So it's going to be cameras are going to be the very last thing we see that are going to do this.
So one of the benefits to this also is that, think about it. How many of your devices out there have different USB cables? USB-C, USB-A, printer cables, all these types of different devices have different ends. You don't know what even you're using anymore. If you go to ASCOM Alpaca and it's an enabled, all you're doing is carrying around Cat 5, Cat 6 cables. That's it.
Or nothing, or
Wi-Fi.
5G Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah.
And so, but the multi-gigabit Ethernet is fast enough to carry the images. Yeah, instead of being 5 seconds to download a gigantic image, it'll be 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be okay
for the
with
convenience factor. But there's people out there who are like, oh, it's going to cost me an extra second to download my image. Forget it.
Hey, well, you spend more time than that dithering, okay?
Good enough is what I do, and not perfect. So
yeah,
that's my thing.
Yeah. No,
Another question. Or I will move on to a little demo.
Sure, let's do it. Oh wait, okay. I'm sorry, Eric. Did you have a question? I saw.
I was just thinking. What about if you want to, and it's maybe also because depending on the manufacturer. But what if you wanted to utilize maybe a USB to Ethernet adapter? Would that work? A USB to Ethernet, so you can connect it?
Not in general, because what would travel over the USB cable is the #6515 BS99, device specific protocol. And then that USB would go to the driver, right? And the driver would then go, oh, this thing got sick, or it's taking an image or whatever, and then give you the answer over the REST protocol using the Alpaca nouns and verbs. So no, you couldn't just connect an extender. And who would want to use USB to extend Ethernet when Ethernet goes 5 times farther than USB anyway?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. But like if you
you couldn't do that translation.
So
it would imply that box in the block diagram would have a driver in it, and that's fine. Although the driver could just live on Linux or Windows, could live anywhere, and then it on the other side can speak Alpaca. So you could build a driver for a USB enabled device. This is important. And sometimes I forget to stress this. You could take a Raspberry Pi and write an Alpaca driver for your mount, and you can write the control software for your mount, and then connect this to your mount by USB and have it talk just like the ASCOM driver talks to your mount today. And there's your Alpaca mount, and this can speak Alpaca. I will show you shortly, or any other thing. So there's all kinds of ways to put things together here. Once you free yourself from that Windows-based device to application system that the classic ASCOM uses. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Billy had a question. Looks like, what about?
Keep them coming. I'm watching my time. I ran the time out one time on questions, so I'll do my best. How much time? We go for another how long?
We got as much time as you need. I'll tell you that. so okay. The longest show on record is Sean Nielsen at 3 hours and 14 minutes. So, no, I'm just playing. But
these people get sound asleep before that.
Oh no, they will all hang, and like 90% of these guys in the chat will hang out all night. They're all. I'm telling you, they'll sit there and they'll hang out. The only person that won't hang out is Tarek, because he's got to go to work. He's in the UAE. So he's got to go, but everyone else will hang out. But Billy wanted to know, what about a USB Wi-Fi generator? Is that possible?
I don't know what that is.
I'm not. So I'm guessing you're plugging USBs and making it Wi-Fi. I've never heard of that, to be honest with you.
I don't know what that means. I would say we need to table that question. That's kind of outside of.
Let's come back to that one.
Yeah, and I don't know why this is. People want to ask questions about the plumbing on this, but really what I want to get across is what you can do with it, and not whether it's this plug or that plug, or, you know, can we make this, that, and meh. No, that's not the point. The point is it opens up a lot of new vistas for being able to connect programs and devices, make it easy. That's the whole thing.
So there's one more question before you get to the rest.
All right.
I have a mix of Alpaca devices and ASCOM devices.
Everybody does right now.
How do I do that? Do I need ASCOM platform 6.6 plus the Alpaca platform as well? Do I need to run two things differently?
No, there's no Alpaca platform. The platform right now, you don't even need the ASCOM platform, except that some of the libraries that come with that made life easier for the application developers and for the driver developers. And thus they had to write less code. So the platform is really a set of tools, libraries, and specifications. So you don't need a separate one for Alpaca. All the documentation for Alpaca is in there. All the libraries for Alpaca is in there. So, and as far as your program, let's just say I'll use ACP because I don't want to favor any of the other ones. If you connect to an ASCOM mount and an Alpaca focuser, ACP could care less which is which. And you don't need anything more than the ASCOM platform, which has the magic chooser, which can choose and connect your program to either ASCOM or Alpaca devices without your program having to know the difference. It doesn't have to know. And it can create an Alpaca, broadcast an Alpaca front end for any of the devices that's plugged into your Windows machine, which means a program running on Linux in Python, speaking Alpaca, can use that device. So there's nothing more you need than the ASCOM platform on Windows today. But in practice, if there were no ASCOM and people didn't care about the libraries and the other conveniences in the platform, you wouldn't need the platform. The platform does not enable ASCOM devices to be used. It only enables ASCOM devices to be programmed by virtue of convenience libraries and documentation, if that makes any sense.
Yep. Makes perfect sense.
Did that answer the question clearly enough?
I'll let you know when I get it on Discord.
Programmer weeds, you know, and I'm trying not to bore people with the things that programmers care about as opposed to the things that astronomers care about. And if I get down in the weeds, I apologize to you.
Nope, it's all good. So I think that was the last question, I think. For now.
All right, you think so?
For now.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share a screen. This screen is my Raspberry Pi. You can probably recognize it by the little menu up here. What's running on this Pi, and this is it. Well, I'm going to flip back to me. This is what you're looking at in the screen, this little Raspberry Pi.
Yep.
Okay. That's this. Whoop. One too many clicks. One more click. Now, toggle screen. Oh, stop sharing. I've got to stop and restart it, it looks like. Yep. All right. Thought it would come back. There. What you're looking at is the product or the Daniel Van Noort, and it is a set of sliders that run through a browser, but every single ASCOM or Alpaca device is shown: camera, calibrator, dome, filter wheel, observing condition indicator, safety switch, and telescope. Well, this makes a telescope. So in practice, what you're looking at with this Raspberry Pi is a Wi-Fi telescope. Oop, I didn't get that too. There. This is you can think of this as a Wi-Fi telescope by virtue of this program on the Pi. This could just as easily be tied to a real telescope with an ASCOM driver on it, but it's a simulator. It acts exactly like a real telescope. So now what I'm going to show you is, where's this window? There it is. Okay. This takes me just a second to get going again because this is a screen share from there. Just a second to get going again because this is a screen share from there. What? Just a second to get going again because this is a screen share from. What am I hearing? There. What?
Is there an echo?
I'm not saying that. I'm not talking right now.
Yeah, somebody's got.
What am I hearing? There. What? Oh, I bet I know. I'm not saying that.
It's something.
This may be my.
Somebody's got the
my
YouTube
iPad
going on or something.
Yeah, it may be. Hold on. That's me. I think I have something else going on. Yes, I do. Okay, I'll kill that. I gotta kill this program just a sec. Okay, now that's me. Actually, that's funny. What am I hearing? Me.
I hear echo.
Yeah, exactly. It was. I had YouTube on my iPad. I thought I'd shut that down when we had network bandwidth problems. Okay, so I'm going to try to share this now. Toggle screen share. Stop sharing. Okay, now toggle screen sharing. That's me. Okay, here we go. Hopefully. Yep. All right, so here's an iPad. And what I have on this iPad is Sky Safari 7 somewhere. Thought I had this queued up already. Yeah. Sky Safari Pro 7. There it is. Right. So I have set up. Yeah, I have to be careful. I'm now on. And let me get rid of this frame because it's actually probably going to be better without it. There. How's that? Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yep.
It looks like my my bandwidth has been okay lately, right?
Yeah, every once in a while it kind of fades a little bit, but for the most part, it's pretty good.
Well, hopefully, after I found out I was running that damn YouTube on my iPad.
Definitely better. It's definitely better.
Okay, so if I go to settings, you can see here Alpaca Telescope Simulator and Raspberry Pi Simulator. That's a preset that I've set up to talk to the simulator. So if I go back here now and I connect, there we are. And I can't show you the two screens at the same time, but if you saw the simulator, it's the one who's furnishing this telescope. So if I want to slew up here, you can see it move to that. See that move?
Yep.
And then down here.
Yep.
It's below the horizon. Just a sec. Huh. There. There it goes. See the dot just move over there?
Yep.
It's this thing.
Yep.
I'll make it bigger. There's the thing there. So if I slew over here, there it goes. Okay, so that's emulating a telescope. It is exactly what Sky Safari would see if it saw an Alpaca telescope, which is what this thing is emulating. It could be a self-contained mount with an Alpaca controller built in. So this is pretty cool. The simulation curriculum put this in last year. And so any telescope, including a telescope that's on Windows with a Windows driver that wants to broadcast its Alpaca interface with ASCOM remote, Sky Safari can connect to it. No dongle, no cable, no nothing. It's basically uses the Wi-Fi that's built into the iPad. Does that seem? I mean, is it obvious enough what's going on?
Yeah,
here?
no, you're good.
Okay, I'll just push the up arrow. There it goes. Can you see it moving up?
Yep.
Down.
Yep.
So that would be a real telescope. Again, what's going between the iPad and the simulator on the Raspberry Pi is Alpaca. And they're all on the same local area network. Everybody's quiet. I hope that made sense.
No, you're good. There's no questions yet. Everyone's getting it, I think.
I was keeping an eye on the questions, on the chat.
Well, that's okay. I'm good with questions. I just wanted to let you see that there was that possibility, and that was again what I. Let me close this down now because I think make sure that doesn't slow things down. Okay.
There you go. No, you're good.
But no, I really think as we move further and further into using Alpaca, a lot of hopefully more and more manufacturers are going to embrace this. And you're right, Dan, you're right. It's probably going to be your camera manufacturers who are going to probably be the last ones.
Oh yeah,
they will be the last ones
to move forward.
And for ASCOM, that is exactly what happened. ASCOM hit the decks in 2001. For other devices, domes, focusers, whatever, it was 2005 or 2006. But the camera standard did not hit the ground until 2009. The final piece of that happened at an AIC meeting in California, where 4 camera manufacturers got together and they decided the last piece of the agreement, which was the Bayer matrix, how to represent different type of Bayer encodings in the standard, so that no matter which, there was like 6 different encodings for Bayer, and they decided these are the ones we'll support, and anybody who comes up with some other new Bayer thing, tough stuff. And that was the last piece. At that point, it was adopted, published, and it has been out there since 2009. So that's 15 years ago. And I will say this.
John was just making a comment, but then we're relying on device Wi-Fi range.
You have to talk to the manufacturers about that. I mean, they can either make it super stupid or really good, depending on what they want to provide. The spec doesn't tell people how far their Wi-Fi has to reach.
Right.
It's up to them to build. I mean, you can go cheap and make it nasty and cheap, or you can go better and make it really reliable and a bit more expensive. And there's every type of person in the market. There's the skinflints and the people who appreciate quality, and that's true in any market.
Sure. So it'll be, you never know, the maybe, as you were saying, maybe a Pegasus or another manufacturer, they'll build out something, maybe Prima Luce, that, we're going to broadcast a Wi-Fi signal, so that way it can go back to maybe a stronger Wi-Fi signal. And all of the devices, they'll talk to that eagle over that Wi-Fi because they're so close. But that distance between that eagle or ASI Air or whatever, or Nina computer back to you, it's gonna
the Nina computer will probably not be a problem, because most of the desktops and even the B-Link computers, they all have really good Wi-Fi's in them. Even the Raspberry Pi's got a good Wi-Fi. This thing reaches a long ways. So even without an antenna, it's got this doofus little loop thing inside of it, but it's pretty amazing how far that goes. But that's all in the manufacturer. the electronics, right? And it has nothing to do with the protocol. Protocol will run over it, and it's just and so hopefully the market, if you believe in that, the market will weed out the poor designs, and you'll have the better designs going forward. And that's the way it should work, right? I mean, the better things people should buy more of.
Yeah, absolutely.
So all we do is make the specs and try to provide tools like that simulator and the conformance checker, which is probably the most important piece of software that's ever come out of Peter Simpson's lab. That's that conformance checker. You wouldn't believe the conversations that have gone on over the last 20 years with people who don't feel like they really need to implement everything. And so you have a situation where you have a program such as Nina or ACP or SGP that expects this device to be able to speak all of these verbs and nouns, and then some cheap, lazy, poor engineer, inexperienced person, well, all I need to do is send a pound sign to the garage door opener. Why do I need to do all this other stuff? And so, if it doesn't pass conform, forget it.
Yeah. But you mentioned, like the Arduinos, and you have these Raspberry Pis, these Arduinos, and what people are doing, the program they're doing with these Arduinos. Some of it has been sick. I mean, it's just crazy good on what they've been doing. So it may even get to a point where you may have, because I've already seen people building strain wave mounts, for example. And, some of them, I think they were using Arduinos in programming all the go-to in there. So so if you have a DIY mount with an Arduino board in it to do all the programming, then you can use Alpaca to communicate back to you. May be able to, maybe, yeah. Maybe, I don't want to. You're right. I don't want to jump ahead.
Pounding. But, pounding 10 pounds of what into a 5 pound. Is
true.
They're having bytes out of code and overran the step. Got to take this out, that, and all of a sudden they've got to speak HTTP and answer incoming web requests and filter and check things and all of that. The Arduino is really, really, really. I mean, you could end up, if you started your project for your strain wave mount, you're going to build all those mechanics and get that. It's beautiful. It tracks beautiful. I love it. Then you're going to put a board in there with a bunch of electronics on it. By the time you get to that point, the difference between a $15 or $20 Arduino and an $80 Raspberry Pi, it's 100 or 500 to 1 more that you can do. And so why paint yourself into a corner with an Arduino and then curse because you didn't look far enough ahead to realize that you were going to have to put a web server and all of this other logic in there in order to actually run it from a computer.
True.
It doesn't, it's engineering again. You've got to see your way through to the end of the project and then figure out where your time is best spent. I already know one guy who just drove himself nuts trying to put this stuff into an Arduino. And every time, oh God, I had to do, and so why subject yourself to that pain for $20 or $40? You can take you and your girlfriend or wife out to dinner for $60 once. So what's the point?
Exactly.
Anyway, that's engineering.
You're absolutely right. Get the Pi, get a Raspberry Pi board, set that.
There's something like that. There's a whole bunch of, but they're actual real machines that you can go in there and work with and run and develop and debug and boom, 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 and you're done. And there's Python kits now that you can, if you've got the development capability. I mean, the whole dang Alpaca device kit, the SDK, I developed that on the Pi.
Wow.
And this is a Pi 4, and I think I paid $50 or $60 for it. And it's the big one. So, yeah, it's just not. if you're doing a strain wave device, trying to cheap out on, it's the same mentality of in the old days. Guys would go out and buy a stereo with a 500-watt amp and a beautiful turntable and big speakers. Oh, no, and you know, a beautiful strobe light turntable and everything, and then put
and the lava lamp. Don't forget the lava lamp.
Yeah, right. But the end of it is, oh, I don't need those big ass speakers. Put these little speakers, and that's just, you know, completely out of balance. So
yeah, you know, I was that guy that had the 6-foot speaker, you know,
me too.
big speakers. I did my whole car stereo speaker from little bookshelf speakers. So I had bookshelf speakers all over my car back window with the subwoofer, 3 subwoofers in the back trunk, and you know, I had all that stuff.
Yeah, like my son, you could hear him coming down the block with those subwoofers, and when the music was cranked up, his headlights dimming down.
Oh God, that is too funny. That is
Those
too
are
funny.
the days, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
What other
he wasn't
questions?
playing rap music, was he?
What's up, Pete?
He wasn't playing rap music, was he, Bob?
Yeah, probably.
hey, as long as nothing wrong with some Run DMC and DJ Jazzy Jeff and Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. I mean, there's nothing wrong with those guys. I mean, come on, I've seen all of them live.
Boy, okay, let's move on.
Hey, Senthil, what's going on? We got some new people in the chat. Welcome. Nikon Jackson's in there. Newman's
Here
still
we
in there.
I did that. Sorry, I clicked the wrong tab.
That's okay. But it looks like your audio kind of stuck through there. Everything was pretty good. And you know what? I found out one of the problems. I think it's both of ours. I think my GPU memory is hitting the top. I'm in the red. First time I've ever been on the red on this, so there could be a little bit on my side as well. So don't go tearing apart your network tonight, because
I won't. I don't. Unless I have this problem multiple times, I'm not going to touch it, because I never have the problem, and I'm not going to go.
Yep.
You know, one of the things I learned when I worked as a television master control engineer is don't turn knobs and make adjustments when something doesn't act right, because you'll just hide the problem.
Yep.
Go find out what actually changed and fix that first.
Well, one of the things that has changed, usually my GPU memory is at about 60% when I do a show. And right now I'm at 98. So something's a little funky on my side. So
that's weird.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and I have a 4080 video card. So I mean, I got 12 gig of RAM on my video card. So it shouldn't be like this. but so yeah, I mean, Ascom Alpaca has really made some strides since the last show that you were on. Like really, like huge. Like you literally jumped over the pond, and you've really made a big splash here. So it's really great to see that it's starting to catch on. And I know you're super excited about it.
I've always been, since for 25 years. That's been behind my business. This has been a passion of mine, to keep the market and the playing field level and open, so that people aren't locked out. And there's a player out there right now, I'm not going to say who it is, but that's trying to put their arms around everything again. And all I can say is I wish them luck, but I don't think it's going to work, because people will finally not want to do that anymore.
We'll see.
People who may have gotten in late, I want to go back, if you will bear with me.
Absolutely.
I want to go back and go through the list of things that are out there right now that are already Alpaca enabled, and every week we add new stuff to them. So this is a focuser that is self-contained, driverless, and Wi-Fi. It just came. I just put this out yesterday or the day before from MAF. The Boltwood Cloud Sensor has been out there for 2 years. It is Wi-Fi, self-contained, driverless, and but I want to say this, and I know people have probably heard me say this throughout this program, but I want to say no program on Windows has to change in order to talk to these things. If they've been talking to ASCOM devices, they can talk to these with no changes. You just go through the chooser, pick the Alpaca device, and that's it. This Pegasus is Wi-Fi and Ethernet. You wanted to see who has Ethernet, and it's Alpaca, and it's out now. It says estimated launch January. That was last month, so I should update that. The Dark Dragons guys, they came on last year with this. Again, self-contained, driverless, and just Ethernet, not even Wi-Fi. I showed Sky Safari. You can ask your folks if anybody wants to see that Sky Safari demo again. I'll do it, but I don't want to redo it. These guys put together weather services using Alpaca in 2 days using the Python kit that we have on their Linux system. And boom, as soon as it started broadcasting Alpaca from their Linux system, all of their Windows customers could see the weather and use it. And they were ecstatic. This program is a planetarium that has spoken native Alpaca for 1.5 years or almost 2 years, maybe. The Focus Cube, another Pegasus thing, that speaks Alpaca, self-contained, no driver. This is an app for the iPad that turns it into a flat panel, and it broadcasts right straight from the iPad an Alpaca cover calibrator interface, the language, the nouns and verbs. So a program that knows how to use any, like a flip flat or any of the other things that also talk cover calibrator, can use this as a flat light source. It's variable light, variable brightness. I think that's a cool idea. This is also self-contained, driverless, Ethernet, and Wi-Fi from Pegasus. This program, like the other one I showed you, is a planetarium that speaks native Alpaca, doesn't have to go through Windows or COM, and all of Optech's devices speak Alpaca. And this software here is another one. It emulates a camera. It simulates a camera, and it pictures and plate solvable images up, and it has an Alpaca camera interface to it. There's another one, and I forgot. And then this thing, Mark Sproul has developed a huge suite of drivers and controllers and things that speak Alpaca, and all of which run on the Raspberry Pi, which is a very cool thing. Another Dark Dragons controller, another Sky Simulator, that's what I was thinking of before, that also produces images that are plate solvable and look, you know, and actually have deep sky objects in them and everything. And it acts like a camera, so any program that can connect to an ASCOM camera can connect to this, even though it's only Alpaca. And I won't go through that. That's a programmer's tool for. So now I'll come back to life here. Okay.
Well,
thanks for giving me a chance to do that one more time.
Yeah, well, an interesting question came across, and my initial thought was I'll give you the answer. It's going to be like Karnak, but the answer is I don't think so, and I'm pretty sure not. But the USB Wi-Fi dongles is what the gentleman was talking about before, where you could take a non-wireless device like a computer and plug in a USB Wi-Fi adapter, like a TP-Link Wi-Fi adapter, into the back of a ZWO camera.
No,
don't you need to be able to recognize that? You would need to load the driver onto that camera for it to recognize.
That's not going to do it.
That's not going to happen.
Sorry, speaking, you'd have to have some other, at the other end, something that would convert Wi-Fi back to USB.
Right.
The driver's on a Windows system, so how would that thing ever know how to speak
back to it?
Yeah. I mean, you could go out and buy one of these Wi-Fi, I'm sorry, yeah, a Wi-Fi extender for USB, which comes out of your computer and goes into this box, and then it speaks Wi-Fi and then comes out of that box as USB
Right.
and plugs into the camera. Well, I'll tell you, I've had experience with my own customers who've tried to do that with their cameras, and invariably it's problematic.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. There's your answer, Billy.
You're pumping huge amounts of data. They don't design these things to, put 40 megabyte images. It's just, no, it's a loser.
There you go. There's your answer, Billy. Hopefully that answers.
Sorry, that's just, there's no way out. If X camera maker wants to support Alpaca, they have two choices. They can use the current driver they have on Windows and fire up our ASCOM remote, and the connection to their ASCOM driver into ASCOM remote, their camera speaks Alpaca and reach any platform, any Alpaca, and the camera then being converted from Alpaca into ASCOM Classic by ASCOM remote. Program sits out there, very low overhead, how to transmit images using Peter Simpson. Again, really wonderful image bytes, which is efficient. That's the way. But you can't just Wi-Fi dongle camera and expect it be able to talk to something else. No, not only don't know, but no.
don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's a free lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm just trying to get you back in. There we go. That's better. Just and there we go. All right. I
Peter, have you gone to sleep yet?
You're right, Pete. You're pretty quiet. You're very laid back tonight, Pete.
Oh, it's just been a busy day. I've just got back from the Berkeley Accelerator doing an X-ray detector installation, so I'm just tired.
Ooh.
Just listening. I'm really enjoying this conversation. Just listening.
Sorry to poke you then. More questions. Somebody's got to have more questions.
I've been poking Pete for like 3 years, so don't worry about it. It's like and he's been poking me since that horrible Islander loss at the Stadium Series the other day. I mean, it was just horrible. But there was a question by Josh. As a fellow programmer, do you have any recommendations for where I might get a start tinkering around in the open source astronomy community?
That's a huge question.
Like what forums,
without knowing
what
it
kind
is
of
you want to do. No, I mean, that's like, how do I learn how to program Zwiebelfetzer?
Well, I know Josh, and I know he tinkers with Python. So
okay, well, all right. So but do you want to write a driver? Do you want to write firmware for a device? Do you want to write an application that processes images? What do you want to do? I mean, I can point you in directions for a particular type of technology, but just saying I want to do astronomy programming, that's pretty broad.
I'll wait for him to answer.
I'm sorry if I'm being
typical
engineer.
I think that he was. Yeah, actually, I saw him make a comment regarding the driver writing that you were talking about in ASCOM Alpaca. Maybe that's what he was talking about. I'm not 100% sure. We'll wait for him to answer. I know he's still there, so he'll type away, I'm sure.
All right. So if
I want to hack my ASI Air to use more stuff.
Another tab, then it's really hard. I should actually probably put this call into a separate window over here and work in a different browser instance. That's probably much safer.
It looks like Josh answered the question, and he said, I want to hack my ASI Air so it could use other products.
There you have it. This is what I've been trying to prevent for 25 years. And that is one product that tries to make the infrastructure proprietary.
So the one ring to rule them all, right? You know, so
Right,
that's,
yeah. In other words, if you don't speak our protocol, then you can't be, you know.
I know.
And I don't mean to be rough about it, and there's been other companies in the past who've tried the same thing, and it just
Betamax. Betamax.
Well, actually, that's not a name. That's
It's close.
Different.
It's close.
Those are physical standards, and those are very hard to make universal. But it's the same kind of idea.
Yeah.
But there have been within computing, but going back into the 70s, people who've made protocols proprietary and then tried to sue people who tried to talk the protocol, and in the end, it doesn't work.
Nope.
So I don't know what to tell you. You will be treading into areas that you have no control over, no knowledge of. You'll be trying to reverse engineer stuff. There may actually be prohibitions in their licensing agreement that prevent you from reverse engineering, which would be strange because much of what they've done has been by taking open source stuff, adapting it, and then putting their label on it against the licensing agreement.
No.
I know.
No, I know.
I tell you.
Yeah, no. You're right. You're right.
So, what are we talking about? I mean, I'm an engineer. I deal. I'm trying to be a fair guy, and I know it probably is going to irritate people that I even said that.
That's okay.
It's the way it is. And,
you can't irritate us. I mean, you might irritate some people, but that's okay. You know what? You can't take a joke. There you go. But Josh, my series. What was that?
At least you didn't.
No. But Josh, my honest thing to tell Josh though is
I don't know what to tell him about how to break it.
I'll tell him. Save yourself time and frustration, right? Spend $249, buy a Melee, and load up the stuff on there, and you're done. You could use Ascom Alpaca. You could use any device you want. $300, less than an ASI Air, and built-in Wi-Fi, and you're done.
Even this.
Even that.
It's what's inside the ASI Air anyway.
Yep.
It's one of these things.
Yep.
So
that's true.
There you have it.
So,
and I did the whole SDK for Python, all of it using Visual Studio Code on the Raspberry Pi. For this developer, I want to just show you one thing. This here, let me get this narrowed down now. This is where I got myself into trouble before with screen sharing. Let's see. Share a window. There it is. Okay. You can see this.
Yep.
So this is the Raspberry Pi driver, Alpaca driver software development kit. And it has everything you need to develop a driver. And, and then see if this will work. These are all the classes. Let's see. Well, I don't want to drag you through all this developer documentation. If you can see this, this is the client side. This is if you want to write a program to talk to an Alpaca device. And, it has all of the nouns and verbs that you can use to talk to all of the devices. Check this out, man. It's huge. So if you want to talk to a telescope, there are all the nouns and verbs that you can speak to the telescope. It's pretty extensive, but they're documented in extreme detail, and you can write Python and control a telescope with this. And I will show you a quick start. This little program here, if you can see this, I wonder if there's a way for me to make this bigger. Probably not. Oh, well. Is that even, can you even read this?
Let me see. Can I? Let's see if I zoom. Yeah, I could read it. Print starting slew, T slew to coordinate.
Okay. If you take out all these print statements, there's not much here.
No. Yep.
And this what this does is it slews to a location, and then when the slew's finished, it turns the tracking off and tries to slew again. And what it says here, connected, starting the slew. A little while later, the slew completed. There's the RAN deck. It turns off the tracking, and then here's the error that the telescope reported. It can't slew with the tracking off to equatorial coordinates because they have no meaning. There it is. That's what you need to do to control a telescope. And you can write that and put it on your Raspberry Pi and talk to any scope, plane wave, astrophysics, celestron, it doesn't matter.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, I thought, let me try to get this. There it is. Okay. Now, if I stop sharing and then I click this one more time.
There you go.
There I am.
Good. Beautiful.
Hey,
you got it down.
I've got this, man. I got it.
Wow. That's a really, I am so excited about that this is taking off. I really am. I'm hoping that, because I do have I'm wondering if my Optech focuser can take advantage of that. I know you mentioned Optech.
Yeah, it should. If it's focus links, definitely. You may not know it, but it's already.
I got to look at the barrel. I forget which one I bought. It's the one with the USB cable in the back. It's not a separate controller.
Wi-Fi, I get that, but
so
it probably has
it's the focus, not the direct sync.
I don't remember. I gotta actually look at it.
If it's more than 5 years old, probably not.
It's not.
Okay, well then check with them, because you may be surprised that the driver that they have on Windows for that may already be Alpaca.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I got that. I got the I got my AP scope. I got my Nix 101, which the AP scope on it. I mean,
all of those can be made Alpaca by starting the ASCOM remote. Where is that thing? I don't know. Do I not have that?
I would love to run these things with just power cables. That would be great.
I don't think I have that on this system. This is my Windows, not my main development system. So it's my production system, and I don't have ASCOM remote on there. Anyway, it's a program that will allow any Windows ASCOM device, like your AP and whatever, you have a strain wave. My dog came in here. I should have brought him up. He's too cute. He busted in the window, the door.
He just came strolling on in once to see what was going on. He hangs out with me and his little Betty over here. So
where's Mr. PJ? I don't know.
And he just took a poop on the floor. So
of course
that happens.
Yep,
I got an old dog too. He tries, but occasionally he has accidents.
Oh no, this is just a little wee pad dog. I mean, the dog's 8 years old. He's 3.5 pounds. I mean, so yeah, exactly. He can poop wherever he wants. I'll pick it up. I'll throw it in the toilet bowl. It's fine.
That's good.
As long as I don't step on it and it's not the same color of the floor, I'll be okay.
Yeah, when I take him out for a walk, he always starts off by leaving several gifts spaced about 10 feet apart.
Let's see. Mark Ellis, do you know if plane wave mounts are Alpaca Cape compatible?
No, not yet. No. But if you run ASCOM remote and you select the plane wave telescope in ASCOM remote, that makes the plane wave telescope Alpaca compatible. So if let me try where that is. Standards for astronomy. Downloads. ASCOM remote. Okay, show people how to. Just a sec. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
That's my other window. This is ascomstandards.org. You just put website or what, and there's home. Then you go to downloads, not surprisingly. And down here for developer, tools, as note, this. And since I have that system, I can just go here and download this, which I did. Come on, baby. Finish it up. Not sure why it's open file.
Yep.
And you probably will not see it. Try to, you know what? I'm going to drop. Oh, there we go. Next. You won't see this.
Yeah, it's on your
I'm
other
just going
screen.
to do
Probably.
the installation.
That's right.
Yeah, it's just zipping through the installation. Then I'll show you it and what I mean by that. All right, it is just finishing up. Launch ASCOM remote. I want to do that. Boom, finish. And here it is. It's already hooked up to a telescope simulator and this. And then I will switch my screen sharing to something different, which will be this. Boom. All right, you can see this, right?
Yep.
This is ASCOM remote. So what it did, I must have had it on this system because I already have, I don't know if you can ever see I have a big old wide screen here, but I have already 2 simulators running. And you can see I have a rotator, a telescope, a camera, a dome already connected. And if I do the setup here, there are the things that I have. I'll probably have to share a different window. Hold on. This, where is it now? This is a little hard when you have multiple windows. And if I shared my whole screen, I don't know if that's going to actually work. Sorry. We'll try it. It may just be unusably bad. I'm going to mute my mic because I'm going to have to cough in just a second.
Well,
try this. Okay. Can you even see this? I know you can see yourselves. Maybe if I put this away.
Yep.
How about
you can
that?
see the whole thing. Yep.
Okay, great. So you can see I've selected a telescope simulator, but for this, you would select plane wave or, you know, the sky or whatever. And then as soon as you reconnect this, you can see there are the simulators right there.
Yep.
And now all of these simulators, which are regular ASCOM Windows simulators, they're not Alpaca, are now available by Alpaca.
Nice.
So they now have these things here, which are years and years old, are now Alpaca devices. So with this program, ASCOM Remote, you can make any telescope like the AP or Planewave or Celestron or whatever, you can make that an Alpaca compatible telescope, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
That is cool.
Because then I can make my EQ8, which is then on a pier in the backyard, in an Alpaca device.
As long as it has a Windows driver for it.
It does.
Right.
It does. Yeah.
Okay, well, there you have it. Let me go back to this and get rid of this. I'm sure see yourself twice.
So that begs
There you go.
begs the question. Like, let's say that these Player One cameras and even the ZWO cameras, I think they both have Windows drivers.
Yeah.
So you
By
can,
putting them into ASCOM Remote, you have an Alpaca camera.
like to play with that,
And you can connect to it from some other machine on the local net. So you could have Nina on one machine and have your camera and its driver on a different machine and connect Nina. Well, I don't know, Nina, that's a little tough.
Yeah.
They don't use the chooser, so you have to make the dynamic driver, and then once you do that once, and there's a video out there I made for that, but that they're fixing that actually, and I can't tell you that. I just found out from Stefan what's going on with Nina and Alpaca, and I can't say anything about that right now either.
Gotcha.
But that's going to be cool also.
Oh, yeah.
So
all right. Else? So I think that's the last question. I know Eric. You know what we do? Do we do that tonight, Eric? Is it?
Yeah. Today's no, I'm sorry. So yeah, 23rd. Sorry.
23rd. Okay, yeah, it's Friday. So Friday we do picture of the month, right?
Picture of the month. Yep. Sorry. Yep. Again, my date's crossed.
Hey, listen. I thought today was Tuesday, so I don't know what it is. So it's been but wow. I mean, that's a lot of information, and I really love the fact that that Alpaca is becoming mainstream now. I think it is. It's at the point.
Slowly but surely.
Yep.
It's just
slowly but surely.
And it's just amazing. And just like the same thing when we had Evo on from APT as well. When Evo came on the first time, there was a lot of things with APT that were kind of, could have been better, I guess you could say. The biggest thing. No, well, the biggest thing was the auto focusing in APT, and we think we just lost Houston. We have a problem. There we go. Okay, then we're back. So there was things that needed to be changed, and he knew things that needed to be changed in order for him to become more mainstream as well. And then within a year, he was all of a sudden this platform just became a monster, and he made a lot of changes, and it looks like that Ascom Alpaca is on the same type of route that APT was 2 or 3 years ago when we had him on, and it's just becoming more and more finally accepted. It's not the redheaded stepchild, so if you'll excuse me, of like this kind of thing that everyone spoke about, that's kind of like, oh, Wi-Fi, I don't know, stability, and now it's becoming more and more, the stronger Wi-Fi 5 comes out, 6 comes out, more stability in the signal, and now the addition of Ethernet,
The only thing you need bandwidth for is downloading images from a camera. For everything else, the bandwidth needed on Wi-Fi or Ethernet is minuscule.
Yeah.
It's in the noise, basically. Very light.
And I'm wondering, if you're running something like, let's see, I guess it's still. Let's think about that. So the bandwidth for down, because most of the cameras are going to be USB anyway at this point, unless if you're using the Alpaca.
Ascom remote.
Ascom remote. I'm sorry, Ascom remote. Unless if you're using that, most cameras are going to be USB anyway at this point. Now, that doesn't add on to your your bandwidth. So I mean, you go in USB. It's USB traffic. So that's the only thing on your USB now, though. So now your USB traffic is better. So
all the other things like the mount control and everything are also insignificant on USB.
Yep.
They don't amount to beans. So
no, exactly.
One thing that is a constant source of disappointment is people using native drivers, not ASCOM drivers, with cameras. And it disappoints me. We got a lot of static, say 3 or 4 years ago, for not supporting bias on cameras in the ASCOM camera interface. That's the language I was talking about at first, the nouns and verbs, for not allowing people to control the bias on a camera. This was an open source of argument and pain between some camera vendors who insisted not letting the customers control bias, because that's a factory adjustment on these CMOS cameras in order to get the right to get the most dynamic range out. But it was required for low-cost cameras that had circuitry that drifted around. And so you needed to be able to adjust the bias in order to compensate for unstable circuitry. And we finally buckled and put that in there. And now, guess what? Nobody uses it.
Uses
Hardly anybody uses it.
Everyone.
So it was a big bunch of temporary stuff for people during the transition from CCD to CMOS. And then we're like, don't you guys do this? You're a boys club. You don't listen to what we have to say, blah, 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 blah. And then it takes a long time to change the standard. You have to release it, publish it, and then people have to adopt it, right? Before your application can bet on it even being there. So
Absolutely.
There's a couple of years in that. Well, now it's a joke. And I will say this. Yeah, the bias, I don't want to tell that story. Guy came to me not being able to take flats, and he wanted me to be able to control the binning. I'm sorry, it wasn't that. What was that? It wasn't. Yeah, it was flats. And he wanted, no, what was I setting that? Now I can't remember, but I was setting the binning to the highest. No, that's right. I can take flats with a binning of 2, and I can't take flats with a binning of 1. What's the problem? What are you doing wrong? I'm not doing anything wrong.
Of course not.
What happened was the bias was set so far off that at bin 1, the camera was producing all white images.
There you go.
They didn't have any, it was all 100%. As soon as I turned the binning from 60 down to 2, boom, everything was
fine.
Yeah, and so I go, do you remember what the bias was on this camera when you got it? Well, I think it was 3. I said, well, why did you set it to 60? Because Uncle Festus told me I'd have better images.
Uncle Festus.
And, what the hell? And the camera manufacturers, S-Big, FLI, back at that time, Starlight Express, they said, don't do it. Our customers will drive us nuts. But we did it anyway, and we got ourselves into trouble. So there's a little war story for you.
Well, now they're doing, they're not using biases, to your point, anymore, for the most part.
Right.
And now they're using the AstroWorld coined technical term, flark. It's a flark. Yes, it's a flat dark. It's a flark. So,
what is that?
It's a flat dark.
You don't know if it's a dark flat or a flat dark.
So now it's a flark.
No, so we just mushed them both together.
Well, it's a bias and dark subtracted flat.
It's a
flat field that's been dark field and bias adjusted.
It's a dark field, the same exposure length as your flats, and then you use that to calibrate your flats.
Yeah, it's a dark. Yeah.
Well, if you have bias, you don't need to do that. You can take those at different.
Correct. That's true too. Yeah. But that's why
the better way to do.
It's a Coke and Pepsi thing that people go back and forth for days on this stuff. It's like which
I'm sure they're down on the noise on that.
Yeah.
I always go with the camera makers. I don't believe, Uncle Festus or whoever else.
Festivus for the rest of us.
That's it.
Yep. Oh boy.
Oh man, it's 10 after 11 already. We've been having too much of a good time talking. We really.
I don't want to keep. I'm done. I'll answer questions and I'll bat ideas around and things. I've got 25 years of experience supporting people. I don't do astronomy myself, but I've been up and down and I've listened to people's problems and done what I can to help solve them and to provide them with the right tools. The best way I can describe myself is I'm the guy who designs and builds the race cars. And then I give them to you and you go out and win races with them.
There you go.
That's it.
There you go.
It is.
And I love it.
I don't see any other questions coming in here for Bob.
No, I think we're good. I mean, I'm ready to load up my Pegasus and try this stuff out because I got my Eagle right over there. I can plug everything in. But you know what? I gotta sleep first. I gotta.
Ditto. And it's not
Patience,
even-
my
it's
man.
just
Patience. You'll get there.
I'll
You'll
get there. I'll get there. Listen, I just on a side note, on a complete side note that has nothing to do with alpaca, has nothing to do with anything, because I know people are interested in what I was doing. Now, I have had this terrible dilemma with telephone wires in the back of my house. So I almost said 9X. Oh my God. Verizon decided, wow, I'm showing my age here. Anyway, Ma Bell decided to come over, put some new telephone lines across my northern sky. And in the beginning, it wasn't a big deal. I had 3 in the northern sky, but I never shot lower than 30 degrees. So I was shooting over the telephone lines all the time. Not a problem. So a guy built a house across the way on the other side of my property, and they needed to put the telephone wire really high to reach the top of his house. So my northern sky was crapped out. And it's only a telephone wire. It's not a big deal. But the problem with the telephone wire was it wasn't wrapped with any non-reflective coating. So any star that kind of went through as a telescope went through looked like Saturn, because it had a diffraction spike going across it the size of like the half the screen. So I stopped shooting in the north. I got so pissed. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm done. I went into a massive depression. I almost went into, returning to be a major alcoholic again because I couldn't image anymore. And whatever the case may be, I said, you know what? I haven't tried to do anything with Blur Exterminator and these artifacts created by my wonderful neighborly telephone wire. So maybe it could do some magic. Turns out I didn't have to go that far. Somehow across the way during my massive non-imaging depression, WBPP must have came out with some sort of updates in the background, kind of didn't know anything. And what happened was it started to reject the streaks in the stars because they were so intermittent that it just kicked them out. And it went into the high rejection file, and that was it. It was done.
Nice.
And then next thing I know, I'm like, okay, you know what? I didn't do anything. 6 months ago, when I ran WBPP on the same star and the same type of night with the same situations, it wouldn't take it out. It would never go anywhere. It was there the whole time. I had to clone stamp it out. There was no way getting it out. Now it totally rejected it. I ran a Blur Exterminator on it, and it looks perfect. So I'm going to do a longer test. Now I only did a 10 sub test because it was too damn cold. I did a 10 sub test, and it looks great. So hopefully I'm back in business in the northern sky, and I'll be able to do some other imaging projects that I'm dying to do. So hopefully.
I'd probably go get a rattle can of flat black paint, put it on a great big long pole with a trigger, and then lift it up and spray your side of that phone wire.
Well, let me tell you, the last time somebody went up, now this was before I owned the property, so I didn't own the property at the time. So the power lines go literally through trees.
I don't want to mess with power lines.
Through trees. And the telephone, but what they have to do as part of LIPA, which is the Long Island Power Association, you got to have a clearance of the power wires behind the trees. So one of the electricians decided to go up there and make the hole in the tree on my land, ended up getting tangled in the power lines and died. Died in the tree. He was up there for a day and a half. He was up there for a day and a half. Nobody wanted to take him down. They had to cut down the power in the whole city and get him down.
Nice. Ugh. That's a shame, man.
I am not going up there with any sort of flat black canopy because it's too close to the power lines.
You said telephone. I would not mess with power lines.
Oh, no, it's not. I did say, well, it's power. That's so close to each other. The power and the telephone lines. They're all together. I mean, it's literally New York, so they're all over. We're idiots. We don't put anything underground. So
I went to pick up my dad one time at one of his friend's house at a ranch in Central California, and they had their own little strip there. So I went in there and went up and to pick him up in his airplane, and I hooked these phone wires and tore them out.
Nice.
A little low on approach. I didn't even know it, but when I taxied in, there's the phone lines hanging off the landing.
Well, hello, Jane. What? Hello.
We gotta put up. Oh,
I thought I heard something, but hello.
I never knew anything. I never knew anything.
Oh man. All right. Well, there hasn't been any questions. Everyone's talking about, just hanging out in the chat. So I mean, it is about 11:15.
One last question.
Oh, yep.
Tarek was asking, is Alpaca's cross-compatible between operating systems? He was saying, if I use half the setup with Windows and another half with Linux, is it working within both X's? Yeah, because I think it's just basically TCP/IP.
Right. And you can write software on any of the operating systems. The communication is no longer dependent on a Windows service. It's dependent on TCP/IP. So again, I developed all of the toolkits for Python on a Raspberry Pi, and yet I can talk to any Windows device. Conversely, any Windows program can talk to a device that's plugged into the Pi with a driver or the control system, the whole control system from the Pi. So everything works across TCP/IP.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
And actually, let me show you one more thing. And this is probably for whoever asked that question. I want to put up one more window, if you don't mind.
Yep, go right ahead.
That is ascom-standards.org. And I put that up before, but I'm going to do it again and point to a particular location on there. And that will be, I'm getting to be a virtuoso with this now. Okay. So you can see this, right?
Yep.
ascom-standards.org. Whoops. I didn't mean to do that. Where it says about Alpaca and ASCOM, if you have questions, you can go here and see what caused ASCOM to come into being in the first place. How many of these mount adapters must I write and support? Oh no, a new mount, more code. So you can go through this, and it's kind of and then this is
that's my backyard.
And this is what it is. So there's that, and then motivation, and then here's the overview of it, how the layers work. Modular architectures, it tells you a little about that, why we have modular architectures. Imagine, and I put this in here for a reason, imagine an airplane with I hear this occasionally, why can't you just make one program that does everything? Okay, I get it, but modular architectures is how you build things without having the complexity go geometric. Why? So imagine an airplane with one box in the belly, one giant black box with 100 cannon connectors on it, some of which go to the toilet, others of which go to the autopilot, others of which, are you kidding? You could never do it. It would be a disaster. Oh, something's wrong in our framistator box.
And
now what?
The the autopilot just took a poop.
Right, right. So that's a good one. I'll remember that. So reliability, maintainability, everybody uses modular architecture. So you have programs and drivers and components so that you can isolate problems. There's a whole nother reason for ASCOM that you can find out by looking in here, but I don't want to go into that. That's an engineering thing. Anyway, there's all kinds of block diagrams and why you have universal interfaces, how Alpaca connectivity works. So this section here of about Alpaca and ASCOM, you can find answers to a lot of your questions in here. This problem solving is a big one. And that's another reason for universal interfaces, but it's too late for that right now. So
absolutely.
Anyway, whoop. Now I'll come back to myself.
There you go.
right.
And I'm gonna.
Well, guys,
Thanks. For
I
letting me put
appreciate
that
it,
up.
Bob. Thank you so much. But for me, I'm bowing out. I am white.
Hey, I don't. Hey, listen, it's only 10:20 over there. You got another hour.
It's 9:20. I'm on mountain.
9:20.
Yeah,
it's and it's 8:20 for Pete.
I've been starting work a lot earlier now. So
I think we have
Pete
all
came
4 time zones here right now. I think we have.
Yeah, I think we do.
We
East,
do.
Central, Mountain, and Western.
Yep. We got all
Hey,
4.
Pete, thank you for having them. Thank you for twisting their arm to have me on. I appreciate it. That went to Pete.
Hey, Bob, are you kidding me?
Listen, that is
Absolutely. Anytime, Bob. Believe me, you're a treasure. You're an absolute treasure, Bob.
Hey, listen, he didn't have to twist our arm. I saw you on Global Star Party a couple of weeks back. Yeah, it was a couple of weeks back, and I texted you that night right on the show. I said it's time for you to come back.
Okay.
You were like,
my
"Yep."
appearance on the Astro Imaging channel was a train wreck.
Oh, sorry.
So that one really hurt. Anyway, this was a lot of fun, and I think it turned out pretty well.
It did. It a little bumpy in the beginning, but we got through it, and everything was cool, and it was a great presentation with a lot of great Discord. Thank you for people that were on Discord asking a lot of questions. People in the chat.
I love Discord. I didn't. Next time I get on, I'll run a Discord server. Discord on my side. I love that. I love it.
Yeah, Discord's been great for us. They literally. Tom, Peter, Norm. Who else is on there a lot? Dave Schaefer. All these people that are on there constantly running these chats. All you guys are great. Yeah, thank God. Because I don't have time to run it anymore because you guys run it now. So thank you for everybody for maintaining the chat and growing the channel, really. Because thank you so much. All right, so I guess some final thoughts, I guess, and then we could go have a glass of wine, watch some MASH, and go to bed.
Definitely. Seriously, I'm so glad you came back on because I've learned even more about alpaca now than even from the last time you were here. So I really appreciate you coming on. So it's been great. So yeah, you're more than welcome anytime.
Yeah,
to,
absolutely.
Come back. So for sure,
Thank you.
Pete, you were silent, but we could feel your presence.
He's like E.F. Hutton. Remember those commercials?
Yeah.
It's like E.F. Hutton.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
A shout out to the audience, Tom, Norm. It's good to be back. And as I said, I apologize. It's just been a busy day with me with work today. But Bob, always a treat. Absolutely, always a pleasure. And just a wealth of information. Every time I learn so much just listening. And it's always good to have you on. And Dan, congratulations, the show and AstroWorld TV. It seems to be taking off right now. So God bless you, man. It looks good. Everything's going in the right direction. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, man.
Oh, wait, Pete, where's yours?
It's 32 degrees and it's raining and snowing. So it's.
Are you?
What do you think I am? I'm on Long Island. Come on, man. It's 32 degrees. That's short weather. Come on.
We're in the middle of this atmospheric river coming through here. Tomorrow we get about 3 days of a break, and then it picks back up again on Monday and Tuesday of next week.
Nice. Hey, Bob. Any final thoughts for the people out there?
I think I've probably bored people enough.
Not even close. People just started dropping off now, but we had almost 40 people watching at the peak. So
that's great.
Yeah, so that's great. I'm sure over the weekend we'll get a lot more plays over the weekend as our international fans decide to jump on and see what's happening. Our average, believe it or not, when we have guests on a 2-hour show, the average watch time is over 45 minutes. So, which is
That's
really
damn good.
Yeah, which is really good because you know why? Because nobody knows what the hell is going to go on the show, and they're wondering what bomb's going to drop eventually. So, so that's why they watch. That's why they watch. So you got to watch 9:36 p.m. on our last guest. Then you got to go see that. But anyway, Bob, again, thank you so much for educating us on some more of the finer points of ASCOM Alpaca. It's been I'm really super excited for the platform and for the project, and I think it's been it's been a road long travel, but I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and more people keep on jumping on, and it's going to get more and more exposure, and it's going to become more and more accepted, and it's going to sooner or later become the standard, just like ASCOM did for us also many years ago. So
my final thoughts are: God bless Peter Simpson and Daniel Van Noort for what they do. It just would not be without them, especially Peter. Well, both of them, really. They both, I can't really say one way or the other. They're both wonderful. I mean, they're behind the scenes, but they are the real heavy lifters in all this.
That's awesome. And it's great to have a good team around you that knows how to kind of work these things, because if you don't surround yourself with good people and knowledgeable people, well, you're only as good as your weakest link, right? So, that's what it is. And if you got all these wonderful people helping out, it just makes the job so much more easier and more fun.
Well, I'll say this. Daniel and I work for Peter. He's really he's our fearless leader. I mean, he operates behind the scenes, but really Peter calls the shots, and he's the real genius behind Alpaca, not me. That's for sure.
And listen, you've
I'm
all
just a mouthpiece.
You know what? Hey, listen, but without that mouthpiece, nobody knows. So
that's my job.
So there you go. So, and your job is to educate, teach people about the this is the way. This is the way, right? So, and it looks like a good way, and it's going to be a great next year or two, and I'm looking forward. What's that?
It should be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that more people.
Innovation. That's all it is. We're in the golden age.
Open age. Keep the playing field level. Keep it all open. That's the key.
Yeah, there's no me in team, but there's meat. so hey.
Okay, guys.
Everybody, thank you again so much. It's been a great show. It's now 2.5 hours, and it's time to go hang out with the wife and chill out for a little bit. And thank you, Bob, for your time. Pete, great to see you again. Please come on the show more often, because you know what? You're missed. I know you're working your butt off, but you know what? You need to work your butt off with us too, because we love you. Our next guest is, let's see, February 28th, is it? Let's see.
I thought it was March.
Was it Is it March?
That's
we skip a week? Let's see, real quick.
The 28th it's leap year this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is 29.
It is.
Our next guest.
Who is?
On Saturday. Guido.
Oh, Guido this Saturday. That's right.
Saturday
Guido Orleman from Guido's Astro Forum is going to be coming on for a special Saturday show on Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern, because of his he has a different time zone more than the rest of all of our other people. He's like an Evo time zone. He's very, very far off. So he's on the other side of the world. So he's going to be coming. He's in Holland, if I remember right. And he is going to be hanging out with us and talking about, he just put out a video regarding all these lovely smart telescopes that have been coming out, starting with the C-Star and ending up at the Origin. We're going to take a look at a bunch of them, and he came out with a video, and he's going to give us some insights on them. So what you can get, what you can't get, what you're not going to get, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a great show. What's up?
Then on the 13th, we've got George Helios, the
George
developer
Helios.
of the developer of Hocus Pocus
Yep.
for Nina. And then on the 20th, we got Alan Friedman.
Alan Friedman.
Who's gonna talk about solar imaging and the upcoming eclipse. So
Yep.
He's one of the coolest guys on the planet.
Oh, he is. He totally is.
Friedman. Oh my gosh. He's just one of the coolest. Well, so is George Helios.
Yep.
They're both excellent people. I know them both, and they're wonderful.
Yeah, I had a pleasure of meeting both of them again last year at NEAF. I had lunch with George. We hung out and we spoke a little bit. And then Alan gave me the pleasure, or me and Derek, the pleasure of hanging out at the AstroWorld booth for a good half hour, just talking and BSing with with everybody. He was asking questions about actually incidentally the Pegasus Nix he was asking about. He was thinking about purchasing one of those. So we were just talking.
That's going to be if you've got one.
I do.
I'm curious. I think it's going to be it is actually a very cool scope.
I love it. I love the fact that I could throw it on my shoulder with my telescope on, not the AP scope, but the telescope on top like a red cat, and I could carry it on my shoulder and come inside, and that's it.
Yeah.
But,
nice.
All right.
All right.
All right, everybody. Have a great night. Friday night, don't forget, we got image of the month, image of the week. What is going on? One image of the week submission. Guys, girls, let's go. Let's get in there. And I guess somebody wins. I don't even think we have to tell who the winner is. We can tell it right now. Because
we already
know.
I've already posted. You already know.
It's already up. One picture? We usually have 10, 12 pictures with 40, 50 votes. And guys,
every once in a while, you might only have one, and I tell you honestly, it makes my job a little bit easier when doing the website. So hey,
there can be only one. So
if there's only one,
there is only one.
No worry. I don't have to worry about a poll or setting up anything else. I just throw on the image.
There you go. You win. Who won anyway? Who was the entry?
Jason.
Pellegrini.
Yeah. With his,
Starlancer. Congratulations. So we just have image of the month next month. All right, everybody. Have a great night. Enjoy your next 2 days. Enjoy your Saturday and your Thursday and Friday. Saturday, don't forget, we got Guido at 2:00. And Bob, again, thank you so much for hanging out with us and
most welcome.
Spending your time. And go hang out with the wife and chill out and tell her we all said thank you for allowing you to come on the show. So
appreciate it. Okay. So,
all right, everybody.
Pete, we'll talk to you, bud.
Take care.
Have a good night, everybody.
Take it easy, everybody.